There we go. What's up? I'm 3D, and this is Tales from the Driver's Seat. Doing a thing where I talk about TV shows that I'm watching. One of the shows that I talked about in a previously recorded yet unreleased video is a show called Grimm. They had 6 seasons before it was taken off rotation. So they're not doing it anymore. But somehow Once Upon a Time is still surviving when, I don't know, I feel like that show has long jumped the shark. But anyway, Grimm, the show is based around Detective Nick Burkhart. He is a relative or a descendant of the Grimm family, a family of people who can see people who are like werewolves and witches and beaver people, but the family has a long history of not just identifying these people but killing them. So that's been a lot of fun. Yeah. And everything is in German. The show's not in German, obviously, but if there's a potion or a spell, the name is in German. The animal people, the werewolves and like the witch people, the beaver people, they all have German sounding names for them. Like the werewolf people are the Blutbad, and then the witch people are the Hexenbeast. So a lot of really it sounds cool on the one hand, but on the other you've got a show with a lot of German words talking about families of people who murder anything that's not entirely like quintessentially human. It's like there was one Grimm who discovered a race of peaceful turtle people, and he's like, I am glad they're so peaceful, that made them way easier to murder. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? How the crap? And it's one family of people, but they seem to be like slayers, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's the level of ability that these guys seem to have, is the Buffy strength. Like anything that they fight, they seem to fight on their level. It's not hard to like overpower a Blutbad and kill him, but they still have a cabinet full of like crazy ass old world weapons and stuff. So a really cool show in that regard. So on the one hand, I guess Grimms are not that common, but they are pretty like proficient with a weapon, I guess. And on the other hand, there seems to still be a lot of Wesen, the animal people, the fairy tale beast people, fairy tale creature. It's hard to say what exactly it is that they're going for. Back in season 1, I'm only like halfway through season 2, but back in season 1, you could clearly see the parallels between the old fairy tales and the stories that they were telling. Like, there was a Cinderella story. The character's name was Lucinda, and she had a bitch of a stepmom and 2 stepsisters. And I was like, this seems familiar. And there was like a Hans character and his sister, who was not Greta, but he did leave a literal trail of, well, it was like the beads from a shell necklace, but he left a trail of them for people to follow and find them. So, like, the literal trail of breadcrumbs in the forest, yeah, like, that actually happened. So, Nick, the main character guy, also a police detective. He investigates a lot of crimes, and they all seem to be related to the Vessin, the animal people. And that's what makes it so super interesting. It's like, why are you never just busting a crack dealer who freaked out and killed people at a drug deal gone wrong? Like, where is that? Why is that not a thing? But no, it was an ogre that freaked out and killed a bunch of people. So convoluted sometimes too. Like, one time there was a watch, and the watch was physically tampered with, set to a time and date when a supposed wrong occurred, and then cemented with glue so that it stayed locked in that orientation forever. And it was somehow that all came back to point to, like, who the person was. And it was, like, really convenient and convoluted in that regard. But season 1 feels like it was a bit of a weaker season. Aside from all of the like, you know, convenient plot threads, the obvious tie-ins to fairy tale stories, like the brothers Grimm war, I guess. So, like, all of that stuff was fairly obvious, and I don't know, it felt like it made the show a little bit weaker. But it did last 6 seasons, and season 2 feels like it's getting a lot better. The characters themselves, Nick, the police detective guy, I always forget his name because he, even for a season and a half in, feels like an incomplete, bland character. They're finally giving him some development that I feel like normal people would do. Like, despite having a long and illustrious career of fighting Vessin criminals, he also hadn't really had anything substantial happen with that until he actually got arrested for being at a crime scene. So, by the FBI, no less. There was a special Vessin hitman sent, and he killed FBI agents. And then Nick killed the guy that killed the FBI agents, but the cops were already showing up, and he had to, like, ditch, and ended up leaving his gun and a shell casing behind. And it was really super weird. It really was weird. Because that started to call back to shows like Dexter, where he had to, you know, basically hide his identity by being a crime scene expert, or a crime scene investigator, a CSI, specifically with blood spatter. But there hadn't been any of that with Grimm until I think it was earlier in season 2 that we started playing with that dynamic of, what if his Grimm work starts to get him in trouble with his police work, you know? Until this point, they had always, like, their goals had aligned. But now, all of a sudden, the Grimm work is starting to put him on the other side of his lawful good character. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not orientation, alignment. Lawful good alignment. Don't you hate when you like temporarily forget a word and it makes you look stupid? Like everybody has those presque-vous moments, but I hate them when they show up because they make me forget like the dumbest words. But like I almost got rear-ended at that cross, the thing where the roads meet. Yeah, intersection. Yeah, like stuff like that. But yeah, so he has until this point had a very distinct lawful good alignment. But between his interaction with his significant other Juliet, which gonna get to her in a minute, has like always been like very, very far to the lawful good side. Through his interaction with her, it started to move him out of lawful good, maybe into neutral good territory, if not chaotic. So, oh, the bonsai lady's here. It's a lady selling Japanese bonsai trees. There's some little junipers, but the literature in her truck is written in Korean, so I think she's ooh. And this beef truck is padlocked, but the padlock is not locked, it's dummy locked. I could just reach over and steal some stuff and things. Oh god. Get out of the road! Idiots! All you gotta do is turn the wheel and push the gas. Alright, so anyway. Juliet is obviously set up to be a tragic character. Probably aside from maybe Ophelia, one of Shakespeare's most tragic characters. So it was pretty obvious what they were going to do. She was bland, like milquetoast bland. Utterly forgettable, aside from the fact that the show never let us forget she exists. And finally, like, she started to develop some personality and like story arc, and that all kind of got shut down with like a soft reboot of her character. So now she's a, spoiler alert, bland milquetoast character with amnesia, but a very selective amnesia. Like, a hexen beast, which is basically like, you know, your run-of-the-mill witch character, got her cat to scratch her and give her a curse that erased part of her memory. And they're finally starting to pay some of that stuff off. But back in season 1, I was episodes into the show when I was sitting there thinking, she's gonna die. I actually looked up some spoilers on her character because, like, she has to die. She's named Juliet, and she's the prime love interest of a police detective, you know, and like, something has to happen. The opening episode of the show, if not the second episode, the story arc that kind of set the events of the show into motion was his sick, dying, Grimm aunt telling him, you have to break up with her. She's just gonna get hurt if you keep this relationship going. Which, like, brings me to my next question. Like, how does the family propagate if they're supposed to break it off with their significant others and just, like, live like Jedi? Like, you know, they exist, so clearly nobody listens to this. Like, they're all Anakin Skywalker. They're all breaking that rule. All busting the Prime Directive. But weird. Anyway, I guess there's a dental school right there. I had no idea. So I was shocked when she did not die at the season 1 finale. Like, I was like, this is going to be like a major character development for him, and it's going to be one of those Spider-Man 2 moments where we have to decide if this is something that we're going to keep doing. Oh, that light was red when I went through there. That was a short yellow. Anyway. I'm just kidding. I did not run a red light. That'd be crazy. Anyway, now this one I'll run because there's nobody here. I'm just kidding. She, I kind of want her to die. I don't really like her character. She doesn't really present much in the way of conflict. Like, before she got her extremely selective amnesia, if she and Nick were having a dinner, which they apparently don't get to have that often, and he would get a call on police business, she'd be like, yeah, go ahead, go do what you have to do. I'm fine. And she meant it. Like, I don't know how a person can read those lines. Oh yeah, that's fine. I understand. And not sound sarcastic. Like, I'm trying, and I can't not sound sarcastic. No, that's fine. Go ahead. Go do what you gotta do. I understand you're a cop. You gotta go help people who got killed. But I don't know what this is. It's a bunch of people. Large collection of people. Anyway, so yeah, she's not a believable character. She doesn't have any notable personality characteristics. She's just a tragic character who was cat scratched into a coma, and now here we are. I'm to the point where they're about to pay that story arc off. Finally, it was an annoying story arc to begin with, and it's all because of this jilted Hexen beast. Who, I mean, she's causing way more problems than she needs to. But, you know, hey, I guess revenge makes you do funny things, and she did lose something, so I guess there's that. But all things considered, I really, really like this show. It has elements that I really like in a show that plays with the fantasy genre. The one thing that I look for, and if anyone has played these types of games, or like tabletop role-playing games and stuff like that, I like the fantasy genre, but I don't like the medieval time period. So if I can get the fantasy elements in the modern setting, I really like that. And that's what I like about this show, is that it takes place in modern day Portland. There's no flashbacks to previous time periods. There's no nothing like that. So they don't take side trips into high fantasy time period realms, stuff like that. Okay, I'm just making sure that the one guy that lives on the street who I know is gay is not getting harassed. He's just getting his lawn mowed. I enjoy keeping an eye on people, making sure they're not getting in trouble with anybody. So, what the crap is that? Is that a boot? This field where they took out the pool house is still just bare earth, and it looks like somebody tried to walk through there after it rained and lost a boot. That's awesome. Anyway, like, that's the reason I don't like Dungeons and Dragons, is you are locked into the medieval time period and you don't have an option otherwise. Aside from the other just basic gameplay elements about D&D that I just straight up don't like. I don't like the class limitations, especially at lower levels for magic users. Like, I guess they don't want insta-gods just popping onto the scene. Be like, I'm a level 1 demigod. Boom! You're all dead. But, like, I get that, but I feel like it's way more limiting than it needs to be. But that's neither here nor there. It has very, very little to do with the TV show Grimm. Currently, my personal opinion is watch this show if you have Amazon Prime. If you haven't seen it on network TV, I don't think it's airing anymore. They've technically officially canceled it, so it's not a thing right now anymore. That's unfortunate, but depending on how the show is going in the later seasons will determine how I technically feel about that. You know what I mean? Like, if it was like really jumping the shark and going downhill really hardcore, well then yes, I'm going to say I'm glad that they shut that down before it got any worse. And that's unfortunate to think that, but you know, at the same time, you could only do so much. But yeah, that's Grimm. Check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments if I'm missing something. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of episodes, so I can't touch on everything, but let me know what your favorite parts are, your least favorite parts. And yeah, just let me know what you think down in the comments below. Agree, disagree, and things that I missed. So like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. I don't do this too terribly much, so you're not gonna get like super annoyed with me. But that's all I got for you. I'm 3D. This was Tales from the Driver's Seat, and I will see you in the next video.